Hi everyone and welcome to today's video. I'm not going to wear the hat for the whole video. I just put it on because it's a link. So today's video is going to be a VFX breakdown of the hoverboard video that I did with Cameron that was released on Monday. Let's open the green screen footage first. So this is how we filmed it. You will have seen this if you watched the behind the scenes videos. I posted a couple showing the process. So for all the green screen shots where I'm on the hoverboard, I was on a harness system. Let's get a shot of it like this. And I was hanging on the harness with the green screen behind me, and so I was about 30 centimeters off the ground, which allowed me to basically sell the effect that my feet were in fact off the ground and not just sort of resting. Originally the plan was actually just to stand on the green screen because we didn't have access to the harness system, but I just thought that wouldn't be convincing enough, so I called in a favour with a PE teacher that I did a couple of filming jobs for and said, could you help us with getting the shots by using a harness basically with the green screen system, and then obviously I could just drop that onto the footage that we filmed on location. So this is the opening shot, and I just flew my drone down a river. If I turn all the stuff off, this is just the drone shot as it is. And so the first thing I did is I added a mask, so I masked out all the stuff that wasn't on the green screen like this, and then I added loads of effects to it. So we've got, let's have a look, we've got key light, which gets rid of the green, we've got a color correction thing to make me match the background, small color correction, so changing the saturation and the sort of color temperature to make it a bit more blue. And so when all that comes together, it looks like that. And then I also added a displacement map underneath, so you can see that there's some ripples going on here, which is just sort of simulating the effect that the hoverboard would have, sort of pushing down. I added a reflection underneath, so yeah, if you can see this very well. It's very, very subtle because it's more of just like a shadow on the water, but it's down here. As you can see, I'm turning it on and off right now. So then we have the kind of other opening shot, which I think is probably one of my favourites. This is me going down the river, and I think the fact that it's on the water just makes it even that bit cooler. So there's quite a bit going on here as well. Similar to the last one, I added a reflection in the water, there's some colour correction, but for this one, it was a little bit more complicated because I had to actually get rid of the wires and stuff for the harness system. So what I had to do is go through frame by frame and animate these masks to follow where the wires are, the harness system that's holding me on, to cut them out. I also had to I didn't do a very good job of this, so you can see I got a bit lazy as I was doing it because it took a very long time. There were bits of wire going across my clothing, which was a nightmare for me. So I managed to cut it out where it's not on my body, which was quite easy. It just takes a bit of time. But the stuff where it's over my body is a lot harder because I can't just remove it because it'll cut out my arm. So I actually had to duplicate part of my clothes. So for example, I took this bit of the sleeve over here and moved it on top of here. And then I took a part of the jacket here and moved it on top of this bit of the jacket. And the end result is this. It's a little bit sloppy, and up close you can kind of see that there's a difference between this colour and this colour and this colour and this colour. But when you're really wide, you can't see it at all, so it's not a problem. A lot of the shots are very simple. So for example, the bridge jump one, I didn't have to do any fancy reflections or shadows or anything. This one's quite complex. Literally what I did is I modelled the building in 3D. So this is the 3D composition, and if I go sideways on, you can see it a bit better. This is what I modelled, and I textured it just to have some sort of semi-realistic reflections. So these have a glass texture, and then I duplicated it 15 times, and then I put a camera here, and literally over the course of about 90 frames animated the camera to fly straight down the building, which gives this effect. So I rendered that out and sort of put it behind me here, as you can see, and it's semi-convincing. I mean, to be honest, it looks pretty terrible, and I'm not massively happy with how this shot looks. And then comes the most advanced shot of the entire film, and this shot took me about 2 years to learn how to do. I'm not even kidding. So essentially what I did for this shot, you might think this looks very realistic compared to the rest of the video, and that's because this is done entirely in 3D. So that's not me, that's not green screened, that is a 3D model. This is where the magic kind of happened in Blender, basically. So this is a 3D model of myself, but this also has photo textures. So we scanned myself in, and it's got all the detail of my jeans and the coat and the hat, etc. And then the difficult process of this is creating the simulation of me falling down, because doing that just sort of in Blender isn't possible. You can't just make things sort of fall like a rag doll. They have to be sort of collision objects that have to interact with the scene. So this is the kind of bare bones of the effect. This is a mesh. It's a load of rectangles, or not rectangles, it's a load of cuboids that are sort of vaguely simulating the shape of my body, as you can see. And then they're all connected together with what's called constraints. And they're essentially hinges that connect all the bones together, and you set how much they can rotate and in what direction. So you don't want your knee to be able to bend forward, for example. And when you do that and you press play on the animation, it basically creates a very sort of low resolution simulation of a load of cubes falling together and landing on a plane, as you can see. And then the next step from that is to parent it to an armature, and an armature is essentially bones for the mesh. So this thing with the weird triangles and stuff is an armature, and they replace bones in the human body. And you essentially create a bone for each part of the limb, just as you would for a human. So we've got like the shin, and then sort of 4 or 5 bones for the spine. There's a neck bone, a head bone. So then what you do is you attach the bones to the ragdoll simulation. So this is what's creating the movement. And then the bones are what move the 3D model that we scanned in. So it's kind of like a 3-stage process. And then in here, in After Effects again, we have the, I forgot to say I modeled the hoverboard as well. So we've got the hoverboard, we've got me, and I also added a plane for the floor, which sort of catches the shadows. And I still thought it wasn't really brutal enough, so the hoverboard just kind of bounces out of frame. So what I did is I used some blood from the Action Essentials pack. It's just a blood splatter effect. And I literally placed it underneath my head so I hit the floor, and then the blood sort of sprays out. Really, really brutal, and I think it sells the effect really nicely, and it's kind of makes people a bit squeamish, which is always kind of fun. So that is the most complex shot, and obviously a lot of the other ones are just sort of quite simple green screening, but this one took a really, really long time to do. But yeah, I'm really happy with how the video came out, especially this last shot is a lot better than I was anticipating. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, consider liking, subscribing, and I'll see you very soon.